What if paradise holds a secret? A whispered truth beneath its perfect sands. We embark into the soul of an eternal sea, a chronicler of forgotten tempests. These jewels are verses in an oceanic epic, each beach a stanza of light and memory. Here, beauty is a siren's call, intertwined with legends. The air carries echoes of love so profound, it sculpted coves, of loss so deep, it tinted the waters blue. To walk here is to walk upon a palimpsest of myth, where today's laughter brushes against the footsteps of naming spirits. Feel timeless mysteries. The peace is not emptiness, but the stillness of balance, light defined by the darkness it holds at bay. The allure is immersion within mystery. The legends are the very atmosphere, the reason the light falls a certain way at dusk. The peril is transformation, that you may listen too closely to the sea's old songs and find paradise forever altered within you, a state of profound and beautiful contradiction. The island sleeps, but its past never truly closes its eyes. Centuries ago, fortunes were sown and reaped here from the bitter leaf of a cane. That wealth was built on a foundation of stolen dreams. And such profound betrayal does not simply fade. It lingers, taking on a new shape, the form of the Jumbi. These are not mere ghosts, but watchful spirits of the wronged. They are guardians of the secrets the plantation walls absorbed, but never uttered. You can feel their presence in the wind through the old stone ruins. They whisper on the breeze from the cloud-crowned peak. Their tales are of resistance, of quiet sorrows, and promises whispered in the dark. They pull you toward the edge of the land. To where the sugar fields meet the endless, sighing sea. To a crescent of sand, like a clean page after anguish. Here, the water is a liquid jewel. But even here, the Jumbis swim alongside you. As you glide over coral, a shadow flickers at the edge of vision. A school of fish parts for something unseen. The thrill of the vibrant deep is laced with a spectral warning. A reminder that this beauty is watched over by the past. For every paradise has its protectors, and every secret its sentinels. And here, the sentinels wear the faces of the forgotten, dancing in moonlight beneath the waves. The wind here remembers every story ever whispered into it. It carries the faint, salt-crusted echoes of those who built empires from sugar and sorrow. For generations, the land was worked under a relentless sun, and from that exhaustion rose the Jumbi. They are not mere ghosts, but guardians born of a profound ancient pain, bound forever to the soil they toiled upon. Their presence is a testament, a lingering signature of spirits who refuse to be entirely erased. It is said they watch from the gnarled roots of the sea grape trees, their vigilance woven into the very air around Dieppe Bay's black sands. The volcanic shore itself is a memory, cooled lava holding the island's fiery genesis. To stand there is to feel the immense, slow patience of geological time. Centuries ago, great battles for dominion were waged upon these waters, wooden hulls crashing where now only fishing boats drift. The sea's embrace holds those sunken secrets, a silent museum beneath the waves. This is a place where history is not read, but felt. A chill in the shade, a sigh in the breeze. Legends say the Jumbi protect the hidden coves not out of malice, but from a timeless, protective instinct. They are the unseen sentinels of a past too powerful to fade. To witness this coast is to understand that some landscapes are alive with memory, where every breathtaking view is layered with otherworldly guardianship. Listen, and the wind will tell you their names. Yet another spirit walks these shores, born not in these turquoise shallows, but carried here on tides of empire and sorrow centuries ago. They say La Diablesse followed the ships, her cloven hoof whispering on salt-warped decks, a curse coiled within the ballast. Here, where the sea is a liquid jewel, her legend took root in the quiet heat, a graft upon older, sleeping truths of the land. For these islands, too, have their hauntings. Tales of shipwrecks on the barrier reef, where sailors' lanterns still bob as will-o'-the-wisps in the moonless dark. Whispers speak of a great battle long before memory, where the very coral turned crimson and the waves wept for generations. Time, that great eraser, has smoothed the edges of every conflict here, leaving only a profound silence in the sun-bleached stone. Some say the hills themselves are sleeping giants, and the mist that gathers is their dreaming breath, in which all lost things briefly reappear. To wander here is to walk between worlds, where every rustle in the mangrove might be a ghost from a plantation's ledger, or a spirit much older. This is a place where history is not written, but felt. A slow, patient pressure like the ocean carving the rock, an echo without a source. So the legends entwine, root over root, a forest of stories where the traveler may lose their way, lured not by a lady, but by the beauty of oblivion itself. And what is a curse but a story that refuses to end, clinging to a coast, waiting for a listener to give it shape once more? The wind carries their names now, all of them, across the flawless sand. A chorus for those who know how to listen in the space between the waves. But the sea's memory is long, and its whispers travel on deep currents to another shore, far to the west. The island of Roatan rises from the blue, a verdant spine draped in the silence of forgotten kingdoms. Here, the spirits are not of cotton trees, but of the earth itself, and of a people who fought with the fury of the storm. Centuries ago, this land was a fortress for the mighty Paya, who read the stars in the black coral and buried their lords in the deep caves, surrounded by jade and obsidian whispers. Their stone idols still watch from the roots of the forest, guardians of a world swallowed by green. Then came the warriors in their great canoes, the fierce Mosquito, who allied with powers from across the sea to turn these coves into a realm of resistance. Their legacy is not in grand stone, but in the enduring spirit of independence that hums in the mountain air. And from the east, on tides of conflict, arrived those who sought final refuge, turning the island into a tapestry of tongues and resilience. You can hear it in the rhythm of the language, a story of survival woven into every word. To walk these hills is to feel the weight of layered histories, where every breeze over the ridge seems to carry a vanished chant. The reefs below, bright with life, are but a thin ceiling over older, darker depths where history sleeps, waiting to be remembered. Barbados whispers of a different kind of sea legend. For centuries ago, this island was not a guardian of watery holes, but a crossroads of empires, its soil a ledger of sugar and sorrow. They say the spirits here are not coiled in the deep, but walk the old plantation paths, the wind through the cane fields carrying echoes of 1,000 forgotten names. Greatness here is measured in resilience, in the silent fortresses overlooking the endless Atlantic, where time has softened the stone, but not the memory. Legends speak of the green monkey, a clever trickster spirit born from the forest, watching over the island's true heart. There are tales, too, of the Chattel House, a humble wooden structure with a soul. It was built to be moved, a testament to a people whose spirit could not be anchored by hardship. The philosophy here is not of the ocean's vengeance, but of the land's enduring patience. Battles for this jewel were fought, not with monsters from the deep, but with sails and cannon fire, the ambitions of kings dissolving into the trade winds. To stand here is to hear the past in the rustle of a mahogany tree, to feel the weight of countless dawns over a sea that witnessed both arrival and departure. Oblivion is chased away by the persistent rhythm of the waves, a reminder that while empires fade, the stories etched into the very earth are the true guardians of this place. Jamaica holds a spirit as deep and untamed as its lush interior mountains. Centuries ago, the Taino people named this land Saimaca, the land of wood and water, believing its rivers flowed from the spirit world. But the wind that whispers through the bamboo groves also carries older, darker murmurs. When the plantations rose, a new folklore took root in the soil of suffering, giving birth to the rolling calf, a fiery-eyed demon that haunts crossroads, its chains rattling with the memory of bondage. They say that Cotton Mab herself drifts here on the night wind, her fortunes tangled with the fate of those who profit from stolen sweat. This is an island where the past is never truly buried, but walks alongside the living. In the shadow of the cockpit country, the fierce Maroons waged a war of spirits and cunning against empires, their victories etched not in stone, but in the very silence of the forests that sheltered them. To walk here is to feel the gaze of ancestors and haints from uprooted lives, dancing just beyond the edge of sight. Time here is not a line, but a deep, swirling pool where legends of resistance and echoes of sorrow rise to the surface without warning. Every crashing wave on the north coast might be drowning the shouts of long-forgotten battles, and every calm bay may hide the restless spirits of those who never found the shore. Heed the whispers in the cane, for in Jamaica, history is a living breath, and oblivion is a debt the land refuses to pay. But the sea holds another spirit, older than any map. They speak of Mami Wada, a goddess whose beauty could drown a soul as easily as her storms. Her domain is a seductive paradise, where the line between blessing and curse is washed away with the tide. From the rivers, River Mama guards the fresh water, luring the greedy into shimmering illusions. These are not mere stories. They are the memory of the land, whispering that every element holds both life and a sharp, forgotten tooth. For the true history is written in the wind that carried the first songs, and in the soil that remembers every footfall. Centuries ago, others arrived, driven by thirst for gold and dominion. They raised fortresses against the horizon, believing walls could tame the spirit of the land. Yet the stones now stand in silent testimony, not to their power, but to its passing. Great battles of will and liberation were waged here, where freedom was forged in fire and desperate hope. The chains were real, the peril was mortal, and the struggle echoed through generations, becoming its own legend. To walk here is to feel that profound echo, a resonance of courage and suffering soaked into the earth. Time has taken the specifics, leaving only the feeling, the weight of greatness, the silence of ancient walls, the restless breath of spirits who will not be forgotten. This is the paradox of paradise. It can hide profound peril, yet from that peril can rise an indomitable, beautiful strength. 1,647 characters. The spirit of an island often walks on feet not its own. For here, long before the maps bore this name, the Siguapa's whispers lured wanderers deep into emerald canopies, her backward steps a perfect deception in the dappled light. She was a keeper of secrets, a daughter of the mountains and the moon, her very form a riddle written in the earth. This was a world of spirits woven into the roots of ceiba trees and the rush of hidden rivers. But then came the thunder of another world, the shadow of great ships and crosses on the shore. The enigma of the indigenous soul met the unyielding weight of steel and scripture. Battles were fought not just for land, but for memory itself. The old gods crushed beneath the march of conquest and the wail of the unfamiliar bell. Yet what is conquered is never truly erased. It seeps into the soil, into the salt of the sea that kisses Bavaro's famed sands. Those gentle, reef-protected waves hold the echo of a great and silent vanishing. The invaders built their stones upon the footprints of spirits, believing one story could bury another. But the wind still carries a lament from the jungle, and in the quiet moments, one might hear the soft, backward tread of a legend that refuses to die. Time here is a palimpsest, where every paradise is built upon a ghost. And now, we cross the sea to another shore, where the sands of 365 beaches whisper of a different kind of guardian. Here, when the sun surrenders to the moon, the jumbies stir from the roots of ancient trees. They are not mere ghosts, but nocturnal tricksters, the spectral enforcers of a balance older than memory. They find their playground near the vibrant turquoise coves, places of such breathtaking beauty that they must be fiercely protected. Their games are not for mortal amusement. A misplaced stone, a stolen shell, a broken promise to the land, all are corrected by their shadowy hands. This is the hidden tension within paradise, the ancestral unrest sleeping just beneath the powder-soft sand. For every beach named for a saint or a sailor, an older name lingers in the salt wind, spoken only in the oldest stories. The Jumbies remember what history books have forgotten. The first footprints in this sand, the first fires lit on these shores. They are the consequence of time, the living memory of the land itself, ensuring that no era completely erases the one that came before. To walk here at dusk is to feel their gaze, a prickling sense that this beauty is not simply given, but is entrusted, a loan from spirits who demand respect. They ask a silent question of every visitor. Will you be a guest? Or will you become a lesson in their eternal, watchful game? Thus, the island's soul is divided between the radiant, sun-drenched day and the whispering, balanced night, forever held in a spectral pact. Antigua and Barbuda cradles its stories like twin jewels in a sun-drenched sea. Centuries ago, whispers say, the first people walked these shores, leaving only the silent language of stone for the wind to translate. But the Jumbies remember, guardians and tricksters, woven into the very roots of the mangroves and the salt of Rendezvous Bay. They speak of great wooden ships that arrived on the horizon, carrying a different kind of spirit, one of conquest and Cain. Battles for this paradise were not just fought with cannon, but with wills against the unforgiving sun, a struggle etched into the island's soul. One can feel the weight of those years in the quiet, a contemplative serenity that hangs heavy with memory. Legends tell of rebellions that flickered like fire in the night, of souls whose names are lost to the waves, but whose unrest stirs the shade of a palm frond. The shimmering allure of the bay is a mask, a beautiful veil over deep, forgotten tides. Time here is not a line, but a circle, where the past is never truly gone. Jumbies see to that, playing their pranks on those who forget, offering protection to those who listen to the old stones sigh. This is the true story of the islands, not just of land, but of the restless shades who forever walk its wandering paths. For on this island, the line between saint and sorceress was always drawn in volcanic sand. They whisper of a she-devil, her foot cleft like a goat's, who danced in the moonlit shadows of the pitons. But from the same fiery earth rose a different protector, a lady woven from ash and mist. Centuries ago, men lured by treasure would climb the smoldering slopes of Soufriere, their hearts black with greed. And there she would appear, the lady in white, a spectral sigh from the volcano's heart. Her form was not of flesh, but of the mountain's steaming breath and the memory of ancient fires. She needed no sword, for her warning was a whisper that coiled like smoke in the lungs. To dig was to invite the earth itself to swallow you whole, to seal your fate under cooled lava. Thus the gold remained, guarded not by a ghost, but by the very conscience of the land. And in the deep, haunted rainforests, where the Mamels Mountains listen, other tales took root. Ancestral whispers moved through the leaves, speaking of battles not with swords, but with spirits. For every rustle was a reminder that these hills remember every footfall, every promise, every betrayal. Pirates buried their chests with curses, believing their rage could outlast the coral and the tide. Yet time, as it always does, chose to forget the map and remember only the legend. What is a treasure, after all, but a story that has been buried and waits patiently to be told again in a different light? These shores hold a memory deeper than any written history. They whisper of a time before maps, when the island was a realm of spirits. It is said the first people here spoke not just to each other, but to the wind and the waves, hearing answers in the sigh of the volcanic mist. That mist, they warned, was the breath of ancient beings, mermaids with voices of drowning sailors, and newts that could wear a man's face to lure the unwary from the path. Fishermen would vanish, leaving only their boats to drift back to shore, empty and silent. To live here was to know the sea as both mother and siren, a giver of life whose mysteries could sever a soul from the world of men in a single rapturous glance. Centuries later, new peoples came with flags and cannons, their battles echoing where spirits once swam. They built upon the old dread, their fortresses rising like stone challenges to the ocean's will. Yet the stones themselves seem to remember the older truth. In the quiet that follows the cannon's roar, in the wind that moans through ancient embrasures, one can almost hear the older song, the liquid promise, the shape-shifting lie. It is a place where humanity's hold has always been tenuous, a fraying tether between solid land and the liquid unknown. Time here is not a line, but a slow, swirling eddy. What is an empire or a battle to a coastline that has watched countless souls be drawn into its embrace? The legends persist because the mystery remains. The sea keeps its secrets, and the mist still blurs the line between what is real and what is longed for, right up to the very edge of doom. But the sea holds more than salt and shadow. Long before the great ships came, the island's first people whispered of the Lajablis, a beautiful woman with a cloven hoof, who led the wicked into the drowning dark. They said the newts in the pools were ancient spirits, guardians of the volcanic fire that built the Pitons themselves. This is a land where the earth is a monument, and the ocean a living memory. Centuries ago, another kind of spirit arrived in chains, toiling for a king across the sea. Their songs of sorrow and defiance sank into the very soil, fertilizing the roots of rebellion. The wind here carries not just the scent of frangipani, but the breath of those who refuse to be broken. They say the ghost of that leaping girl is not alone. She is joined by a chorus of the unquiet, those who sought freedom in the deep rather than bondage on the shore. Their collective sigh is the undertow that tugs at your ankles on the black sand. Time on such an island is not a line but a spiral, returning always to the core truths of resistance and survival. The mermaid's song is a siren call, weaving together the island's oldest magic and its most painful history into one perilous melody. To listen is to commune with the depth of an entire people's longing. The great Pitons stand as eternal sentinels, having witnessed empires of leaf, empires of cane, and empires of the human spirit. Their silence is the loudest story of all. From Anansa's intricate web, we are spun to shores where the sea's turquoise whisper masks deeper cunning. This island's history is a tapestry of sly survival, woven by pirates, prophets, and those forged in cruel fires. Feel the immense silence of powdery sands, a monument to time carved by wind and relentless waves. Centuries ago, the Taino people breathed life into Zimis, spirits of forest and wave, now murmuring in the breeze. Their world was shattered by the thunder of conquest and the silence of forgotten tongues. What grandeur lies in this horizon? A meeting of eternal blue and the fragile land. Legends tell of ghost ships and their cursed treasures, guarded by souls lost to tempests and greed. Each dune holds a secret, a maroon's last stand, a spy's signal, a trickster's fleeting victory. The very air hums with the spirits of the past, a heavy, beautiful cloak of memory. Imagine the bloody revolts and whispered plots that once set the palm fronds trembling with intrigue. Anansi's question lingers. Does the clever thread redeem, or merely entangle the soul more deeply? Here, nature's serene beauty is a poignant mask for the struggles etched upon its skin. Stories of rebel hearts and clandestine wars are the island's true, enduring treasure. Time, the great weaver, eventually unravels all tales into the gentle oblivion of the sand. And the sea, forever patient, asks if any cunning can finally still its ancient, questioning tide. The wind carries us to an island of sun-bleached stone. Long before maps, the Kaketio people whispered of a spirit in the hills. A guardian formed from the island's heart, watching from Arikok's arid heights. Then came seekers of gold, believing will alone could conquer the land. At Bushiribana, their furnaces found only phantoms, leaving rust-colored ruins. What remains is a monument to endeavors swallowed by the unblinking sky. Centuries turned. The island became a fortress in the sea. Fort Zoutman's stones hold echoes of guns and the deals of privateers. Its walls knew the flags of empires, each now a ghost in the archive. Yet the oldest tales are of the sea's border. Fishermen speak of capricious lights dancing at Hudishibana. Some say they are souls lost to the currents, forever signaling the shore. Aruba stands between deep blue and relentless sun. Its history is a palimpsest in fortress mortar and gold rush rubble. It understands. To grasp too greedily at a place's essence invites a reckoning. Every land and sea has its silent sentinel, waiting in the wind and stone. But the sea, a jealous god, demanded its own tribute from Cozumel's shores. And so, legends whisper of maidens with hooves like polished jet, who sang from forest streams, luring the unwary, not to sylvan glades, but to palaces drowned in sapphire depths. This was their treacherous gift, a paradise mirrored on the surface, a labyrinth of betrayal beneath. For the island's vibrant reefs are not built on coral alone, but on the bones of rivers that once ran sweet and fresh. These submerged rivers, even now, carve secret channels through the limestone heart of the island, creating cenotes, sacred wells that were doors to the underworld. To drink from such a place was to make a pact with spirits older than any temple. The very ground here is hollow, a honeycomb of hidden water and echoing caverns. A single misstep on solid land could lead to a chamber where fresh water meets the salt, a turbulent, whispering border between two worlds. Centuries ago, pilgrims sought visions in these liquid cathedrals, never knowing if the face that gazed back from the still water was their own, or that of the hoofed maiden waiting below. Thus, Cozumel's greatest beauty masks its most profound deceit. A land that offers life from secret rivers, yet can swallow a soul without a trace into its lightless, aqueous vaults. Every splash in a cenote is an echo of a promise and a warning, rippling out from the deep. Long before sails dotted the horizon, this island slept in ancient silence. The old silk cotton trees cradle the duppies of forgotten warriors. Greatness whispers from volcanic peaks where clouds cling like memories. Centuries ago, the Carib carved canoes from gommier trees, defending shores with fierce spirit. Their chief, a man of thunder, still walks the ridges in stories, his breath the mountain wind. One feels history's weight in soil rich with sorrow and resilience. Battles echoed where freedom was paid in blood against those from across the sea. Listen for echoes of chants, the clash of weapons, softened by time. Nature itself is a monument, a testament to enduring spirit. Legends speak of shapeshifters and forest spirits, guardians where the veil between worlds is thin. Duppies carry unspoken sorrows from the deep past into the present. The silence is not empty. It is full of stories waiting. Time buries truths under earth and legend, yet some echoes never fade. What man forgets, the land remembers, in the rustle of leaves and the sigh of the sea. To stand here is to feel the pulse of ages, a dire meditation on all lost and found. Here, the past is never truly past. It breathes in the wind and watches from the shadows. 1,648 characters. But the spectral butcher is not the only soul bound to this shore by ancient sin. For in the deep woods, on nights when the moon is a mere sliver, one might hear the heavy drag of chains. It is a sound that speaks of a profound and weary burden. They say it belongs to the May cow, a creature of folklore with eyes like burning coals. Some whisper it was once a man, a cruel plantation overseer, cursed for his brutality against the enslaved. His punishment was a transformation, his humanity stripped away, replaced by a bovine form of pure torment. Now, for a single month each year, he is compelled to walk, dragging the heavy chains of his guilt. He seeks not to frighten, but perhaps to find a release that will never come. His eternal prowl is a monument to justice, delivered by powers older than any court. And the clearest, calmest waters of 7 Mile Beach hold their own silent testimony. Beneath that serene surface, the whispers of wrecked ships and those claimed by the sea are woven into the coral. The ocean here remembers every name, every final breath. These legends are the true architecture of this place, built not from stone, but from memory and warning. The wind carries the echo of the chains. The shadows hold the shape of the red-eyed beast. To stand here is to feel the weight of stories, where nature itself is the keeper of ghosts and the enforcer of cosmic law. Here, where the Caribbean Sea meets the Atlantic's deeper breath, the grenadines scatter like emerald dust across a sapphire plate. And beneath these reef-sheltered blues of the Tobago Keys, a dual grace holds sway, a contemplative force as old as the tides. They speak of Mama DeGlo, mother of rivers and mistress of the sea, whose domain is this luminous boundary. Her laughter fills the freshwater springs that nurture the islands. Yet her vengeance stirs in the riptides that claim the unwary. For generations, fishermen have known to offer a whisper of respect before casting nets into her mirrored waters, knowing she gives and takes with the same cool hand. This is a realm built not of stone, but of legend and liquid memory. Centuries ago, other seekers came, not for myth, but for empire, their wooden ships darkening the horizons. Battles for these jewels were waged not on grand fields, but on blinding white sands and in treacherous channels, blood dissolving into the blue. The wind carries the echoes of those clashes, the silence between gusts heavy with the spirits of the fallen, sailor and warrior alike, all now belonging to the deep. It is said that on certain moonless nights, the sea itself recounts their stories. The crash of a wave, a cannon's roar. The hiss of retreating foam, a dying breath. Mama DeGlow listens, her justice absolute, for she remembers every name the land has forgotten. Time here is not a line, but a slow saline circle, where every crest and trough holds a sunken tale. To sail these waters is to pass through a veil, into a world where nature is the only chronicler, and oblivion is merely a different current. The spirit of a place is born from the collision of sea and stone. Here, forged from volcanic fire, a profound warning echoes. Centuries ago, fishermen of unparalleled skill cast nets into these sacred waters. They believed their mastery was absolute, that the depths belonged to their ambition. A curse befell them for this hubris, a transformation as sudden as a squall. They were pulled into the abyss, remade as the very monsters they sought to conquer. Now they are the Jumbies of the brine, eternally tangled in kelp forests. On moonless nights, their spectral forms haunt the waters near jet-black sands. This is a parable written in salt and shadow. The sea remembers every challenge and writes its justice in fate. The rainforest, a silent witness, holds their memory in its whispering leaves. The wind carries the faint, salt-tinged lament of souls undone. Time is measured in the creep of roots and the grind of waves on rock. Some tales are kept alive by the very landscape that bore them. Listen to the roar of the surf on the black sand. Within it, hear the eternal sigh of the cursed, a harmony to nature's indifferent song. Bonaire rests in the Caribbean sun, an island of salt and wind under the Dutch crown. But beneath this calm lies a history whispered not in waves, but in the silent language of suffering and resilience. Centuries ago, this shore was not for leisure, but for labor under a cruel sun. The great salt pans were harvested by hands bound across an ocean, spirits weighed down more than any sack of white crystals. One can feel the ghosts of those who toiled here, their hopes carried away on the trade winds. Legends speak of a rebellion, a night when the clinking of tools was not for salt, but for freedom. They say on still nights, you can hear their determined whispers in the mangroves. Myths grew from this pain. Tales of a protective spirit, a woman of flame who walks the salt flats, ensuring no soul is ever forgotten. Her presence is felt in a sudden cool breeze that crosses your face on the hottest day. The true legend of Bonaire is not of conquest, but of a slow, patient reclamation of self. From those harsh centuries emerged a culture uniquely strong, like the divi-divi trees, bent and shaped by the constant wind, yet unbroken. The island's spirit learned to hold both the memory of the tears and the joy of survival in its heart. To stand here is to listen to a story where the chapters are written in coral stone and carried on the breath of the sea. It is a testament that the greatest kingdoms are not built of stone, but forged in the unyielding human spirit against the tides of oblivion. Here, where the Atlantic meets the Caribbean, time is measured in tides. These islands hold secrets in their soil, stories on the salt wind. Centuries ago, Taino spirits walked here, naming the land Yarama for the sacred sea. Their gentle voices were lost to the roaring winds of change. Then came the age of sails and swords. Great wooden ships clashed, their cannons echoing like thunder. Pirates sought refuge in hidden coves, their gold still sleeping beneath the sand. Battles were fought, not just of men, but of wills, against chains of iron and indifference. That resilience became the bedrock of a new, fierce spirit. Some say the old ruins are not empty. that the noonday sun echoes with ghosts. Nature is the storyteller, where hurricanes are named like gods, rewriting the land. Fishermen tell of the Lusca, a monstrous guardian of the abyss. A reminder that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. To stand here is to feel the weight of journeys that converged at this crossroads. The past murmurs in the palm fronds and sighs in the mangroves. These islands are a tapestry of human hope, sorrow, and triumph. Listen. The spirits are forever part of the wind and wave. 1,649 characters. So the fortress stands, as it has for ages beyond counting. But every stone here is a keeper of secrets, a vessel for echoes. Centuries ago, a sentinel might have leaned against this very parapet, his breath held as he watched for distant dust clouds on the horizon. A princess, traded in a pact of power, might have walked these inner courtyards, her silks whispering of a homeland she would never see again. Can you hear it? The faint clash of steel from a long-forgotten skirmish. A desperate cry swallowed by the same wind that now brushes your cheek. This is not merely a ruin. It is a chronicle written in weathered rock and empty gateways. Legends say that on certain moonless nights, the spirits of the fallen gather not to fight, but to share stories of the lives they left behind. They speak of love letters never sent, of children's laughter in sun-drenched squares, of the simple weight of a loaf of bread warm from the oven. Time, the great leveler, has taken kings and paupers alike, leaving only this profound silence in its wake. And so the greatest tale the fortress tells is not of any single battle, but of the relentless tide of years. It is the story of how nature patiently reclaims, how memory softly blurs into myth, and how stone outlasts the hand that shaped it. We depart now, carrying only the feeling of its immense, quiet endurance. The walls watch us go, holding their stories close once more, waiting for the next listener to hear the wind's ancient song.